Counter-Strike has come a long way. As the meta has developed, we've had to leave older roles and definitions by the wayside. But some of our ideas about the game have remained, even as those roles change. Most riflers are expected to be able to go in first into a bomb site. You don't really need a designated entry fragger anymore. Instead, teams' most aggressive players are often space takers, players who can prowl ahead of the pack to search for openings or information. It's the difference between 2015 Apex and 2023 Yikinda. The former created space by flinging himself first into bomb sites every time Envy is executed. The latter uses his natural aggression to find gaps in the opponent's setup, rapidly taking any space they leave behind in default. But both roles are labelled as entry fragging. Except, Yikinda's role is clearly a lot easier than Apex's. It's a start role, whereas Apex's was an unforgiving, a cruel one. We still think of these aggressive players as having a hard role, but is that really true? Let's take a closer look. Here's a plot of the most aggressive players by opening duels in 2023 so far. You have Art, Xertion, Cypher, Boros, Nico, and of course Yikinda, alongside new Liquid teammate Patsy. All of these players should be considered space takers rather than entry fraggers. They are taking far more than 1/5 of their team's openers, and with that comes a heap of risk. These guys are leaving their team in a 4v5 as much as they are getting them into a 5v4. Knowing that they will die a lot means that someone else on the team often has to do the dirty job of bomb site entering. Art made Drop do it a lot on Furia, Liquid had Nitro, G2 have Huxi. And we can see the difference between these players in the next chart. This one plus opening kills per 30 rounds against how often a player is traded or baited. Immediately, the difference is obvious. When we zoom into the orange zone in the top left, we have the players who aren't involved in much openers, but have a huge proportion of their deaths traded. These are your Nitros, Huxies and JTs of the world. Shush of Heroic also crops up, who often has to be passive in early round defaults before entry fragging late in the round. These guys are more like your old school entry fragger. They're there to make space for their teammates, but not really to frag too hard. The group to the right of these guys is Flames, Grim and Tessas, and they have slightly more freedom to go for openers but are still predominantly mid-round entries. Contrast that with the yellow zone, players who get lots of picks but are rarely traded. This implies that operating on their own quite a lot, either ahead of the pack as a space taker or as a classic lurker. Either way, the lack of traded deaths implies they're probably not running into a bomb site first. We've got Nico, Blameth, Axile and Nerds down here, players whose aggression is used to help themselves get frags rather than get loads for their teammates. The more traditional space takers of Yikinda and company sit just above this group. They have about average baited rating, since most of them are happy to be the entry fragger if they're alive in the mid-round. But it's in opening kills and the space that those create that they really make their money. This is especially true on T side. An opening kill does all sorts of damage to CT structure, pulling rotations and forcing them to scramble. The 5v4 on either side is won about 73% of the time. Get an opener and the round is nearly yours already. Should you die, information is still a consolation prize. The Scout IGL meta was a thing in the online era for a reason. Carrigan, Nafany and Art all took unfavourable opening duels in the hope that the information would let them make a better mid-round call. Things have calmed down since then. Nafany's been removed, Art isn't the IGL anymore, and Carrigan's calmed down a lot since then. But the ultra-aggressive space takers are still here, so let's try and fry those bigger fish. These are the star openers who are expected to frag, and when they don't, their teams really struggle. To see the true impact of players like this, we're going to need a more advanced metric. Leatify rate, which is based on how much win probability a player adds or subtracts from their team's chance of winning a round. HLTV rating rewards aggressive players via the impact sub-rating. Yikinda has a 1.03 KD ratio this year, but he actually has a 1.11 rating, mostly thanks to a 1.23 impact rating. What HLTV rating doesn't do is adjust the same amount for what we'll call negative impact. Leatify meanwhile prescribes an equal value to a round winning play and a round losing one, as well as lowering the value players get from farming anti-ecos. Kills under Leatify system are not made equal, it's all about adding to your team's chances of winning. Leatify system almost universally doesn't rate these players quite as highly as HLTVs. On the bottom of this chart we have the difference between a player's percentile rank in HLTV rating and in Leatify rating. A negative value on the left means the player is rated higher under HLTV rating. Positive means Leatify sees more value in them. Then on the other axis we have opening kill attempts, with more aggressive players at the top of the chart. As we can see, a lot of these space takers are in the top left. But there's caveats to this. Leetafly's win probability algorithm relies a lot on having your deaths traded, and that is going to skew it against these types of solo space takers. Aggressive players are also more likely to inflate their stats against ecos, just because they make contact first. It also cannot possibly measure the intangible value of information that these players give to their team. But that doesn't mean there's no merit at all to Leetafly rating. This is a clear sign that these aggressive players are not having quite as positive an impact as HLTV rating might have you think. So is that it? Aggressive players are overrated, confirmed? As always with stats, not necessarily. Every team needs a risk taker in their ranks. It's been 6 years now since Astralis dominated the meta with their by-the-book style. Now, if you play default, you'll lose. A wrench needs to be thrown in the works, and having a player with the intuition and instinct to do so is absolutely crucial. Look at the template of Ents and FaZe, who have quite a supportive pack rifler on T-side with Rain and Madden. These guys are excellent at taking space, but if they die, the team star players are still alive. The 4v5 is not a lost cause. If you want your best rifler to have consistent impact, to deliver secure and sustainable performances, it's a lot easier to be a passive piece than an aggressive one. And at the very least, you let the star players be aggressive from lurks rather than as part of map control. But then, there is Nico. For many, he's the best rifler of all time. He's got 86 ADR over 8 years of tier 1 play, and he averages 26% opening kill attempts in that time. But even he is not immune to the Leetafly nerf, going from a top 10% player on HLTV rating to just top 30% under Leetafly. That is, until Cologne, when Nico had a plus 3.62 Leetafly rating. So what was the secret? How does he find consistency where all of these other space takers can't? Talent plays a part, obviously, but so does mindset. Nico's only got 8 MVPs in his career, and realistically, he should have more. It was m0NESY and Hunter who got the MVP in G2's last 2 wins, and Nico found it a little bit difficult to make that aggression work in the playoffs. So what was the difference this time? Let's hear it from the man himself. The past 6 to 7 months haven't been that good for me, but this season I'm doing much better. I'm very calm right now, and that's why I have fewer deaths. I don't try to force things. Before, if I got 2 or 3 kills, I would go for 4, but now maybe I sit back, chill a bit, and breathe. And that's all it takes. You can be an aggressive, space-taking star player, but that doesn't mean you have to play hero ball, even if you're Nico. And, spoiler alert, you're probably not. For us mere mortals, Space Taker is just one part of a team's arsenal, one that operates in synergy with the entire system. They aren't the be-all and end-all, and if you're going to build a team, make sure you've got some late-round stars too. So what do you think? Do you like the ultra-aggressive space-taking meta? Would Nico have won more or fewer MVPs if he was more passive? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.